Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 62, which is called the Otsutsuki Invasion. And yeah, this was a really good episode. We obviously ended last week's episode with the arrival of Momoshiki and Kinshiki. This one is the first episode to properly delve into the arrival, their power, and the big moment obviously being Naruto defending the village with help from Sasuke, but the big moment here being Boruto seeing how powerful his father is for pretty much the first time, which I think is interesting in that it asks a few questions. Does Boruto just not know the scope of Naruto's powers? Obviously, the fact that Boruto uses shadow clones, he knows that his father's signature technique is that. He knows his father uses the Rasengan. I assume through that he potentially also knows about Rasen Shuriken, and you know that he can do like other jutsu, and that he's a good ninja at this point. Like we know Naruto's really developed a lot of the stuff maybe he was lacking in the original series. He's since developed. But does he know about Kurama? Just that full thing about his father and the fact that he has a tail beast inside him. Does he know about that? Is that common knowledge to most people like in the village? And stuff like that. Like, I assume a lot of the older people would know just because he used it so much, like, during the Ninja War. But are the kids meant to know, and specifically his family? Like, Hinata knows, but does Boruto? And then the scope of, like, this episode is effectively like, oh yeah, your father, he is effectively equivalent to a god. He can hold off a god on his own. That is the extent of his powers. That in an episode and an arc for Boruto where you're trying to get across this idea of like, you have to do hard work, it's going to take time for you to get anywhere near that level. Here is the biggest gulf. Here is a showcase of how much work you're going to need to do. And I think this is what's going to make it so powerful once Boruto realizes where his father came from to get to this point. In that he sees his father match up against, like Sasuke and Naruto both match up against these godlike beings who seem unstoppable. He can't do a thing against them. And then if he sees and finds out that Naruto was the worst in class previously, he couldn't do shadow clones initially. And he just through hard work, determination, and getting through all of the struggles that he had to get through, and how like driven he was, he got to this point. That is the best example for Boruto. That is the perfect way to teach him the lesson through him finally, I suppose, getting the full scope of what his father went through. And the setup in this episode, I think, is perfect for it, in that he is just in utter awe of this. And this is the moment where he properly gets why his father has such an important role in the village. That when he says all the people of the village are my family, he means it, and that's demonstrated here with the idea that if there was no one around, if it was just like Sasuke and then the enemies, he would have been able to do some sort of a crazy attack that would have matched or done something to the Otsutsuki attack, but it would have obliterated like the landscape completely. The part of the village would have been destroyed, but he probably would have been able to defuse this attack. Instead, he takes up the approach of using even more power to basically form a defensive maneuver. But the idea is that he has to seal himself within the blast as well. So he takes so much of the damage himself and contains it all to this one area, making sure everyone else is evacuated. It is a huge moment for Naruto, and I love how much they linger on reactions to what's happened. You have random people from the village calling out for him, you know, Lord Seven, Naruto, you know, asking him to, you know, you've done enough already, like, you know, get to safety, don't do what they know he's willing to do. You see, like, Hinata kind of running back in to see what she can do. It's so well done because you get a glimpse of everyone. You see the other Kage who, you know, are Naruto's peers, but you sort of realize here that he's a level above everyone else. That not even they could do anything to match that. Just what Momoshiki was doing, the amount of power he was putting out, that Naruto's the only one who could have done anything like that. You see Kakashi. I even I love the Hiyashi thing, like his father-in-law. That was a nice thing to see, that he's how much he's kind of progressed in a way, that Hiyashi, who was sort of on the whole nobility thing, the whole situation he had with Neji and the way Neji kind of thought about things, and now him seeing his son-in-law save the village. It's really, really impressive. In that sense, the episode, it only really had it was all action. There was only 4 scenes more or less in the entire episode. Obviously cutting between different characters in the same scene, but you had the initial scene of everyone, basically everyone, you had Sakura, Tamari, Sarada, Mitsuki, everyone just helping everyone get out, evacuating everyone, stopping debris from falling on people, the evacuation scene as everyone helps out. You have Urashiki versus Gaara and Shojiro. Why was I blanking on his name? And that was an interesting one, because I think Urashiki obviously has the big new thing in this arc that we didn't really know about before. We sort of knew he was a cut character from the movie, and we didn't know too much about him. I really like what they're doing with him, that his unique power as an Otsutsuki seems to be the ability to steal power from people by using that sort of fishing rod type thing he has. But then they also revealed that he has the Rinne Sharingan, which is what an Otsutsuki gets when they eat a chakra fruit, which is the same thing. He has it in one of his eyes. Kaguya obviously had it in her forehead. Momoshiki has it in his hands. I think this is really interesting that they're establishing that this group, basically all of them more or less, have eaten a chakra fruit from some dimension or something like that, and have this power, or at least a fraction of the power. I assume with Urashiki they'll probably explain a little bit more, because I'm not entirely sure of what his role is, but you see him escape Chojuro and Gaara after he initially has the advantage over them, because Gaara is sort of using some of his power to defend people back in the arena. Shojuro doesn't have his sword with him, so instead they have to use a kind of combination sand trap to dig down into the water supply, and then Chojuro do a big water jutsu and he escapes from it. So it was kind of meant to be this distraction to keep all of the Kage busy to allow Momoshiki to get Naruto, but still cool enough, and it makes me so intrigued to see does Urashiki escape all of this, because I can see that being the role he's going to play, in that Kinshiki, obviously we know what he does, we know what happens to him, we know what happens to Momoshiki. Is he the one to escape all of this and report back to the clan, the Otsutsuki clan, what happened, and really prompt a reaction from the clan, potentially the head of the clan, and the main branch of that family, or whatever they talked about previously, and really present this idea that one of the key points that at some point we'll get into in Boruto is going to be a really in-depth exploration of what the Otsutsuki clan is at its core. Not just that each individual one has this kind of mission to go to some dimension, seek out a chakra fruit to gain their ultimate power. Is there more to the clan? They're an alien species. I think that prompts some explanation as a species that is literally from another kind of dimension, planet, and so on, and what they're about. Because the episode also got across that humans are much more creative because they have chakra, whereas the Otsutsuki seem to have one base ability, and they just use that because it's so powerful. Momoshiki just absorbs stuff and then basically fires it out more powerful. Kinshiki does actually have a weapon, but it seems that that's, for the most part, all he can do. He's just strong, has this weapon. Urashiki has a similar power to Momoshiki, but it's kind of activated differently, and he seems a little bit more calculated about it and is aware more of what's going on with humans, which was interesting that Mitsuki was about to activate Sage Mode. You see him properly go in, but then the kind of, I think just the idea of the power is stolen from him more so than the ability to use it full stop. And it kind of gives him an idea of like, this ability is so much like more well trained and honed, I think is what they're going for, that they understand power, but because that group especially is so focused on, oh, we'll just steal the power. We have one ability ourselves, and then we use that to like steal power, and then we'll harness it and basically use doping to make ourselves more powerful. That because of that, they don't understand that, in a way, if the Otsutsuki clan did hard work just as much as, say, Naruto did, they could be like 10 times more powerful than they are now. And that was one of the big things that also kind of hit Boruto in this, that Naruto's just not just annoyed at like Boruto for doing this, he's also kind of annoyed at the villains for having the same sort of ideals of like wanting to gain power from something that's not really theirs. Whereas their approach is just power, power, power. Naruto's more about your true power that you've actually developed and honed yourself. And so I think all of that worked. Just Naruto, what his just display of his abilities showed, plus what he said to Momoshiki about how his powers work, got across to Boruto this huge kind of understanding. And then they also showed that because Naruto's like chakra was defending everyone, his sort of feelings were shown to Boruto, and specifically he more or less saw what I suppose was effectively like his parents' like lives once they had children. Boruto being born, Himawari being born, the family kind of as they got older, and the amount of time that Naruto did spend with them. Then he becomes Hokage, and then this is where the things have changed. But the change, he now sees in front of him why Naruto is required. So he'll have this kind of better understanding because of this, and especially once he learns about what is the, I suppose, core of Naruto's strength. Once he learns Naruto's backstory, basically, it's going to be such a great development for Boruto. So I'm really excited for like the next couple of episodes to kind of resolve all of this. But yeah, they really nailed this. They did the really high quality animation when they needed to, while I suppose still acknowledging that there's still some pretty big stuff to come. So yeah, I think that's most of what I want to say about this episode. There was only a couple of scenes. It's not like there was 10 plus scenes in the episode, and each one of them had like lots of dialogue to really dissect. The most mysterious thing probably is Urashiki and what they'll do with him, because we know the fate of like the others. But yeah, definitely a big positive here. I really enjoyed it, and this movie arc, I was a little worried about, if you've probably been watching my videos for a while. There was a bit kind of like, okay, I get they now want to do the movie arc, but are they going to quickly go through it? How much of the extra are they going to add? But now that we're into the big stuff, I'm really happy with what they're doing. They're giving a lot of extra details here, and this now feels like it's surpassed the movie, it's surpassed the manga in terms of just everything. Everything's kind of hitting harder because it's being given more time, and this as the core like Boruto initial story, I think is really being done well. So huge positives for me. But in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode. Thanks for watching, and bye.